I would really love to talk about trust and the power of trust.
We want to put in the conversation about the concept of trust. We want to put the word knowing, also the word clarity, because what absolute trust is no monkey business in your vibration, so that there is only alignment to who you really are. So you stand in utter clarity and utter knowing. And the only way that we know to bring any of our, excuse the bulky terminology, physical friends into utter trust is by helping you to realize that you can be more unconditional. In other words, as you are observing your reality or the conditions of your reality, sometimes that observation produces within you a vibration that causes a split between you and you. And then you don't feel trust. You don't feel sure. You don't feel clarity. You don't feel knowing. So it's important to close that gap so you can feel trust, so you can feel clarity. But if all you're looking at is the current reality, if you're looking at the circumstances, if you're looking at the conditions, then you're likely not going to find it. And so that's why we're talking more and more about reaching for the emotion, which is less conditional. Now, by your wise acknowledgement, an emotion certainly is a physical manifestation. You can feel it. It's real. But it's less physical than the car in the garage. And so we're talking about degrees of vibration. We're really talking about turning those thoughts to things. So feel with us how through the living of life there is this vibrational reality, and let's call it source. Let's call it source that is resourcing all that is. Let's call it the energy that creates worlds, this stream of consciousness that is flowing. And so here you are having some relationship with that. And let's say, for whatever reason, you are in a high-flying, good-feeling place. Maybe you meditated, so you just stopped resistance and your vibration raised. Maybe you got on a rampage of appreciation so that you deliberately tuned your vibrational frequency into a high place. But in any event, you're right there in that high-flying place. So here is this source energy offering this knowing. And you're standing in an attitude of trust about it because you're not doing that thing that you do that keeps you from feeling that. So now you begin to receive in a real way, which now you want to call physical. You want to start translating that vibration into something tangible. And the first thing you translate it into is a thought, an idea that is followed immediately by emotion, which is even more physical. And if you stay there, if you're able to maintain it, then that vibrational frequency that you have now accepted, you own it, you've practiced it, now it's turning into impulses, which certainly are more physical, and more ideas and more rendezvous and more of everything, until eventually, and not very long, it doesn't take, you have a full-blown manifestation, and people around you are saying, where'd that come from? And you say, from non-physical. And they say, but how can anything be non-physical? How can something come out of nothing? And that's really the point you're making. It can't come out of nothing. It's coming out of something less tangible, less tangible, less tangible, less tangible. But just because it's less tangible doesn't mean that it's less recognizable. And that's really the point of all of this. We're wanting to make you aware of your own guidance system so that you can feel the realness of that vibrational reality, so that you can feel, so that you can trust, so that you can know the realness of it. And when you do, it's going to come out where not only you, but everybody else can see it too. That's why you all came. You said, I want to be on the leading edge where the thoughts are turning to things, where the non-physical is becoming physical, where the vibration becomes tangible, where I can feel it so that I can guide it and hone it and focus it, mold it and create it.
When trust is called for, isn't it always when both knowing and unknowing are occurring simultaneously and there is fear about the unknowing? Isn't trust always called for in the face of unknowing?
Every subject is really two subjects, wanted and unwanted. That vibrational frequency exists on everything.
I have a very specific example. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And so, of course, that must always be true. Let's hear your example.
Okay, I'm in a dream. And in this dream, I'm in a bed. It's a 4-poster bed. And at the end of this bed are 3 flowing female-type figures. I don't see any faces. I just see flowing gowns. And there's a conversation in the dream. And the conversation is coming from them to me and amongst them. And it's all about my life and the way I'm living things. And this probing questioning is creating a vibrational frequency in me. And the reason I say that is because simultaneously I become aware that I'm awake in my bed, feeling my own bed that I know of. As this vibration is occurring in my body, I feel I'm starting to slide around on the bed, and I feel this fear of, and this is engendered from enculturation, this paranoia about spirits, about evilness, about something starting to enter me. And I get this fear in my dream, and I hear this very soft trust. And I said, okay. And as I did, when I said okay, the vibrational frequency in my body amped up. It got more intense.
Because just because you said okay didn't mean you meant it.
Okay. This probing questioning, me saying okay and trusting, this trust was called for 3 times in the dream, and 3 times saying yes, and on the 3rd time, my body started sliding all over on the bed, like all over, 6-inch excursion. I could feel it in my body on the blanket sliding around, and in the dream, after the 3rd time, a male presence enters the room, and it wasn't a human male, it just felt dominating, came into the room, and when it came in, I look up, and it hovers over me, and there was a thought. I don't know if it came from me or from that. At the time, I didn't know. Now I kind of know, but at the time, I was in fear. This thought, this said, oh, I've waited for this for such a long time. And at that moment, I thought something from outside of me was going to enter me, and my religious training at the time told me, get that thing away, it's evil, don't let it be in you. And I said no. That was the first time in the dream I said no, and as soon as I said no, boom, I was awake, and for the next half hour, I looked at the clock, it was like 1:30 in the morning, for the next half hour straight, my body was vibrating, and I couldn't stop it. I was in total fear. I didn't know what to do. My feet are shaking. There's this energy shooting out my fingers. And then after about a half hour, it finally started to subside. And then I realized it was dark everywhere. I got scared again. And for the next 3 hours, I had my hands like this from the covers over my face. And then when the sun finally came up, I was awake. And
when you ask for something that you're not ready to receive, the energy of it is unpleasant to you.
It wasn't unpleasant at all.
Well, it didn't sound unpleasant.
No, not at all. No. The reason I was in fear is because nothing like that had ever happened in my life. Nothing before, nothing since. But it was the most pleasurable physical feeling I've ever had.
And we can see why you wouldn't trust that.
Yeah, schizophrenia there, huh?
Because your belief system has taught you. Had taught you that if it feels good, it probably isn't.
Right.
And that you are so unworthy that nothing good could come to you like that. So if something comes, it must be bad. But your desire was strong enough that you summoned your relationship with this clarity, but your resistance was still strong enough that you didn't have a smooth ride within it. That's all that it is. When we visit with you, you see, it's such an interesting thing because here you all are as extensions of source energy. But most humans have managed to think themselves into enough separation from this source energy that when you begin opening yourself to it again, it feels frightening to you. In other words, what you're literally saying is the power and the clarity and the love and the goodness was more than I was ready to take on. So there are 2 things that we really want you to hear about your experience. First is, just like in your wake state, what you think and what you feel are always a vibrational match. What your belief system is always the way things are playing out. And in your dream state, there's less resistance while you are sleeping. In fact, the momentum on your beliefs has subsided while you are asleep. But the vibration that is within you, in other words, the experience that you have in your dream state, is evidence of what's going on with you vibrationally as well. And so the thing that we most want you to hear is that this conversation that we're having with so many of our physical human friends is not about you giving yourself over to something else. It's about you stop holding yourself apart from it. It's about allowing the clarity that you have access to rather than denying it. It's about allowing the wisdom. It's about allowing the wellness. It's about allowing the abundance. It's about acknowledging your worthiness and your well-being. And so we don't disagree with you that old beliefs hang on. And this is certainly evidence of that. Everything that you said is evidence of that. And so what's happening in your dream state is, you have to remember, you're the translator of it. You're the creator of your dream. You created that dream. You are the perceiver and the creator of everything. So you might want to ask yourself, why did I create a dream in which there was something there that I felt was good and something there that I wanted to be open to and something that I even used my words to say I was open to, and yet I wasn't open enough for it to be a smooth sailing experience?
I was roughly 6 years into the power of human physiology, a focus on an idea that I have that's kind of revolutionary. I was 6 years into it and focused on that, and I think that's what happened. I allowed that to come into me, and then it scared me, I guess. I believe now, I mean, this is a long time ago, I believe now that what was happening was the larger part of me was connecting with me.
Absolutely. And so what your description here, and the reason that we were willing and even eager for it to go on so long, is because it's the best expression that we've heard in a while about what that gap feels like when you are powerfully being called toward who you really are, but there's a belief system that is holding you from it. And when your desire is strong, still you are called, but when your belief system is strong, then there is resistance about it, you see. And it's exactly why people don't allow prosperity. They want prosperity, but they don't believe it. They don't believe it for themselves. They want ease in life, they just don't believe it. Because along your physical trail, you've picked up so many images and so many behavioral patterns from others because, and here's the root reason for that, because you are accustomed to observing rather than feeling. And so as you observe those around you, your parents and your teachers and your peers, you observe their response to you and you begin to cater to their approval. And so you begin to behave in ways that are not necessarily always wrong for you, but not necessarily in your best interest. You become a caterer to the desires of others relative to you. And so little by little, you get more and more vibrationally separated from that knowledge, from that clarity, from that worthiness that is really you. And then you come to this place, eventually most of you do, it's why many of you are here today. You really want to know who you are. You really want to feel your own power. You really want to begin expressing the clarity that is you. You decide that you're not wanting to live someone else's life, that you want to do what you came here. You want to fulfill your reason and purpose for being. So your calling is so loud that someone like Esther and Jerry come forth and they can feel that calling in themselves and within you. And so Abraham begins to explain that it is a vibrational universe. And some of you, it's very hard for you to hear that until we are able to help you connect to your own emotional guidance system. We're happy that you pinpointed the word trust because it's an emotion. An emotion is the key. Your conscious awareness of how you feel is the key to understanding your in this moment vibrational nature. And that vibrational nature that we're talking about is the relationship, the relativity between who you really are, all the love and all the clarity and all the power and all of the energy that you really are, and what you're allowing to eke through you, to peek through you, to squeeze through you in any moment in time. So you had an experience where your asking was strong. Sometimes we like to say to you, if your desire is strong enough, it doesn't really matter what your beliefs are, that desire will pull you through your beliefs. But it's a rough ride when you've got strong desire and beliefs that are in the way. So then we begin talking about the path of least resistance. We say that your source is calling you home to the fullness of who you are through the path of least resistance. A more positive way to say it would be the path of most allowance. But it's easier for you to hear the path of least resistance. Well, who puts the resistance on the trail? You did. You put it there one thought at a time, one experience at a time, one worrisome conversation at a time. So you've put all this resistance on your own trail, but it didn't stop you from asking, from from sensing, from knowing. So as the energy got stronger and stronger and is calling you in a stronger and stronger way, the faster you go, the more the resistance is evident. But what we're saying to you here that is new, you get that energy moving fast enough, it will blow all resistance out of the way. And that's what was beginning to happen to you. We want you to feel your power. It is time for you to get more consistently in that receptive mode so that you can feel and hear and translate into thought and word and action.